afternoon, and welcome to the Outlive Your Life Legacy podcast. My name is Kathleen Watkins, and I am your host. I am delighted to be back in my seat today, and I do have a friend with me. And before I really get into everything, I'm going to introduce her right from the start. Her name is Deborah Williams, and she is a retired librarian. Now, Deborah, would you like to tell us something else about you?
Yes, I retired as a librarian about almost 4 years ago. And I am also married to a pastor, and we have one son, and he's also a pastor, and I have 3 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. Since I have retired, I have been very busy writing devotionals and publishing them in a daily newspaper. So I stay pretty busy these days, even though I enjoyed my library work, but now I'm doing something that's like library. I'm writing my own books, or at least trying. So life is good. I'm having a good time as a retired person.
Okay, and I know that you are a busy lady. Yes. Busy lady. And Deborah and I have a lot in common, and mainly the fact that we are writers. We enjoy writing. Absolutely. So we can just talk forever just on that. But today I want to share with you exactly what this podcast is all about and a little bit of my background. So just in case you've forgotten, I will remind you. I am a playwright, and I am founder of Spiritually Bold, Inc. Spiritually Bold, Inc. is a community theatrical group, and I have had this group for about 10 years now. I'm also an author, and I have penned my memoir, which is titled, I Can Smell the Coffee Now. And it's a short memoir about lessons that I've learned in life. I'm also co-author of Voices of Women Unleashed in Justice, an anthology. And I'm a ghostwriter. I just gave myself that title because this is what I do. I am working on my 3rd autobiography. And being a ghostwriter, what I do is I actually write books for other people, which is very interesting because you have to write from their perspective. And in order to do that, of course, you must get to know them. And that's what I have been doing. The Outlive Your Life Legacy Workshop and Podcast is all about helping people unleash their memories and then documenting their stories for future generations. Now, I am very passionate about this. I'm going to say this right from the start. When people are passionate about things, they seem to talk about it a lot. They meet someone, you get in a conversation, and somehow this comes out of you. You begin to talk about whatever it is. I have experienced that many times with people. But I believe that we all should leave our story behind. God gave us this precious life, and I believe that He wants us to document it. If you read the good book, this is what you find. He's always saying, remember, write it down. And I think we should. There are reasons why I'm so passionate about this. And I'm going to just say talk about one, and that's because my mother died with her story in her. Now, my mother died in '01, and at that time, I wasn't on this path, okay? And so I really feel like a lot was missed because my mother was a thinker. She always looked like she was deep in thought. And so I know she had a lot to say, but she never did say it. At least I've never heard anything. And so I guess because of that, this is my way of helping other people. Today, what our main objective here is to talk about the importance, or why. Why should you write your story? What's the big deal about leaving your story behind? And we're going to look at some of those reasons. And I'm going to name one right from the top, and that's you get a chance to leave your legacy behind. Now, Miss Deborah, when I say that it's all about leaving your legacy behind, what do you think of? What comes to your mind? And Deborah was in one of my classes. And in my class, you learn how to document your stories. I call it 2 pages at a time. Deborah went through the class. And Deborah, why don't you just share your experience with the audience and what you got from it?
Yes, I'd be glad to. First of all, I could feel Kathleen's passion. And after taking her class, then I realized that how important it was that she is pursuing this passion. Outlive your life. I didn't know what it meant at first, but now I get it. It's when you leave your words with others. One of the questions that she asked when I was in the workshop was, how would it make you feel if you could read something from one of your ancestors? And then she asked, which ancestor would that be? Well, I had never thought about that before because I thought it was important for us to know our genealogy. I thought it was important to know who your people were. And that is important. She said that it was, but how much more good would it feel for you to read something of that person's life? And that's one of the things that I really brought from that class, was to be able to think about that person. And so there are many people in our family, and I think about, goodness, how wonderful it would be if I knew my grandfather, if I'd read something about him. I've heard of him, I know the name, but if I just heard what his life was like and what he was like and his everyday, day-to-day life. And then because he's my blood, and I never got to meet him, but because he's my blood, it would help me to know a little something about me, where I came from. And so that's, when I took the class, I believe it was a 6-week class, we had to write, like she said, a 2-page, we could write more, but we only read 2 pages of our story. And she would give us all these prompts, just many, many, many prompts that I never thought about, such as naming something about your home that you lived in, or what it was like, and what the smells from the house, and the things that I sensed in the house, and it just I tell you what, it just felt good. It was almost like therapy. I felt like it was therapeutic for me to write down my story. And to write your story not only is good for the people that you're leaving behind, it is so therapeutic. And I know that's true because I have an uncle who had cancer, bone cancer. And it was probably cancer is bad as it is. It's serious and it's painful. But bone cancer, he was in serious pain. But the thing that made him feel better, if you want to call it that, better, was when he could write about home, when he could write about the things that happened in his life. He didn't write it, but he told it. When the medical staff asked him about his life, it made him feel so good to talk about that. And so that's why I know it's more to the writing about your life, leaving a legacy, but it is also very therapeutic.
Thank you, Deborah. And so, Deborah, tell me what you did as a result of going through the class. I was very impressed.
Oh, well, Kathleen had us to write a legacy letter. I never would have thought of doing that. And she said you could leave it to anyone you wanted to. And so I chose my grandchildren. And instead of just a letter, I put it into a binder. So everything is a book for me. So I wanted to make it like a little mini book to give to them. And I just started out, dearest grandchildren. And I start saying what my life has been, how God has blessed my life, and what it's like to be a Christian. And I talked to them about that. And then I went through several values. Each page was a value, things that they could do in their lives, like not overspending their money and saving and taking care of their body and continuing to learn and to grow and always learning. And it was just, and then at the very end of this, I talked to each individual. There are 4 of them. I talked to each individual and what I said, what I felt about each one and what I felt they could do in their life and just to encourage them. So I enjoyed doing that. And then at Christmas time, that was my Christmas gift to each one of them. So it was a great experience.
And I absolutely loved it. It's really what I wanted all of my students to do, was to take the time to do that. But maybe 2 or 3 of them have actually done it. And there are many reasons for that. Deborah writes anyway. Some people don't write, and it can be difficult. I understand that completely. And I learned that during this class. When we talk about writing, it can scare people away because they just don't know where to begin. And it's not as easy for them to put their thoughts on paper. It takes practice doing that. But it's also worth it. And not to be concerned about everything being perfect, but just putting your thoughts there on paper. One of the questions I always ask is, if you could read a book that your mom or parents or grandparents had written, how happy, what an experience that could be. I think about that often because, as I said, my mother always looked like she was deep in thought. And boy, I'm telling you, I would still like to know what was on her mind. A lot of times we can read words about our loved ones, but what's precious is when it comes from them. That's what makes it so precious. Her words, not something someone else thought they said, but their words. That's very important. And so as a result of that, I said, I am not going to do what my grandparents and mom did. I'm going to leave my words behind. And I have done that. And I am very pleased with with the treasure trove of information that I have left my family. Now, I will say that right now, not everyone is interested, but I do believe that in the future, someone will be interested. It's not like you ever go on ancestry.com or any of those sites, and a lot of times all you'll see is their name, their picture and their date of birth and their expiration date. And you wonder, God, I wonder what she was like. I wonder what he was like. Oh, yeah. And so genealogy is fine. It's a good start, but I like more meat on the bone. I like those stories. And this is how I got into the autobiographies and memoirs, is because of that. So the first benefit we said is that you're leaving a legacy. You're not leaving behind valuables, because when you hear legacy, the first thing come to our mind is money, property, jewelry, things like that. And truth be told, our descendants, they don't, most of them, they don't treasure it as much as we do. And some of them, the first thing they'll do is they'll sell it. Yes, they'll sell it. But think about your words, though. You cannot live your words. Your words will be here. Leave them. So our second reason for leaving our story behind would be, what is that, Deborah? What's our second reason? Our second reason is you want to become a part of history. Let's say, I always like to explain it like this. We are all a part of this big family. But I feel that we're responsible for our portion of that big family. For instance, my family name is Lewis. Okay, but there are a lot of other families within that Lewis clan. And so if we write our part of their history, with me, it would be the Watkins story, our story. If I write about my family, that's right, then that would be adding on to my family history. And I like to say it's preserving our history. And I'm going to say this, being an African American, this is very important to me. Why? Because so many of our stories have been lost. And there are many reasons for that. Like the family stories, my ancestors, they just didn't write about it. They didn't want to write about it. But we can change that. But in a lot of our history, on the larger scale, it just wasn't included. It wasn't included in American history. And so it's even more important to me that I do leave my story behind. And this is why I talk about this. This is why I encourage. And this is why I help you also. So I have it's the Outlive Your Life Legacy Workshop that I do online, and I also do it in person. I do it at libraries and at different book groups or whatever, I talk about this. Now, let me explain how the three ways that you can write it. Let's start with the autobiography. We know that the autobiography starts from the beginning, from birth until where you are now. It's a lot more detailed. The memoir usually consists of a certain part of your life. Suppose you just want to write about your job. Suppose you just want to share an experience, or maybe your family. Yeah, some people just want to do that. They don't want to write the whole thing. And then we have what is called a legacy letter. And that's the one that I've really been honing in on. And the reason for that is because a lot of us are intimidated by the autobiography and the memoir. The legacy letter is shorter, it's more brief, and it contains the lessons we've learned in life. Maybe there's some nuggets that we want to leave our children, our grandchildren. And then we want to share our beliefs and values. What do you believe in? What have you stood on in your life that you would like to pass on to your family? That's what you would put in it. And that's pretty popular with folks. So if you're interested in any of those and you don't know where to start, then I can certainly help you. I do have a Facebook page, I'll Live Your Life Legacy Workshop. You can go on there and just take a look. I do have the book that I told you about. I Can Smell the Coffee Now. It is available on Amazon.com. And as I said, I also write plays. Everything I do is seen this about writing. That's how you know you're in the right place, because everything that I do is connected. So again, if you would like to contact me, then you can go to my I'll Live Your Life Legacy Workshop Facebook page. You can email me at talk, that's T as in Tom, ALKWATKINS @gmail.com. And I will certainly get back with you. Again, that's Talk Watkins, TALKWATKINS @gmail.com. Okay, so what's another reason people should write their legacy? I'm going to say Deborah mentioned one about it being therapeutic.
Yes, and that just writing is therapeutic. But when you're writing your story, it's something about stories that's very therapeutic. When I finish writing, well, I write devotionals, and my devotionals begin with a story. It's usually my story, or it may be, like I said before, I was a librarian, so I read a lot, and I know how important stories are. It's something they're memorable. So when a person reads a story, it helps them to remember better. And so there are so many things about stories that are, one lady told me that the thing that she liked about my devotionals was that they were stories. And when you tell your story, you help somebody else, maybe going through or what you have gone through. Stories help people connect to one another. And I would say with our legacy, those stories help us connect to our family. So when you're connecting to family, that really gives you a whole nother level of who you are. When I can connect to my mother or my grandmother, then it helps me to know who I am. And I don't know, those things just make you feel, good about you and know who you are and where you come from. Those things are important. And I even now, my son says, "Well, Mama, you didn't tell me stories about our family. I thought I had, but he said I had not. So I know I've got to get busy on that. I have got to do more. I've got to do better and leave more stories. But I'd have to say with my mother, I was listening to Kathleen, and she was saying her mom seemed like she was always deep in thought. And I'm sure there were a lot of things going on inside of her that Kathleen would like to have heard or known. My mother was, I was adopted, so my mother was older, and she had a lot of stories. She was more like a grandmother. And so she told a lot of stories, but here's the thing. Did I write them down? No. So now I'm relying on memory. So I wished I had, if not written them down, recorded them on a recorder or something like that. Many days I have regrets that I did not do that with my mother and my father. He was a storyteller. Every Thanksgiving, Christmas, dinner that we sat at the table, my dad told stories to us of his past. And those were always, they were funny, and they were always entertaining, I guess you could say. While we're eating, he's busy telling stories. So, I don't know, those things I had a lasting effect on me. So I would tell anyone, get those stories down. If you can't write it, record it. you can always do that.
Get it done.
And that's good. That's good too, because now you have the voice. So you have both. So if Mom, we can't write it, we have those phones, and we can always record stuff. So just get it down. Keep those memories going.
I think that everywhere you turn, you hear something about writing your story. It's become big business. And with, I'm going to say, the advent of self-publishing, people are on it. Yes, because it's made it possible for us to get our stories out there. Wherein before, you think you'd have to be a famous person to get your book published. Not so anymore. And with self-publishing, it's your story. You can tell exactly how you want to tell it. And that's the part I like. I can tell it exactly how I want to tell it. And so it's no reason why you can't. Let me say that. And if you're sitting here listening to us today, you might think, well, I have been thinking about that. I have seriously been thinking about it. Don't wait too long. Don't wait too long. Get it down on paper. Get it out of your head and put it on paper. And if you need help, then I can certainly help you. So we're going to look at some quotes now, which I simply love. One of them says, carve your name on hearts, not on tombstones. And that's what stories do, because they connect with the heart. They touch the heart. When a person is speaking, if they tell a story, that's usually what a person remembers, is the story that they tell. And that's why storytelling has become so popular. You want to make an impact, and this is how we make an impact, is by being able to connect with the heart. It works every time. What's another quote there, Deborah?
I see another one here is, the great use of life is to spend it for something that will outlast it. Wow. To be able for, which is the name of your
Outlive Your Life.
Outlive
That's
your
right.
life.
Mhm.
So your words go on after you have passed on. That's wonderful.
Yes. And of course the one that we like so much, which is the African proverb.
Yes.
When an elder dies, what is it? A library burns.
down.
If they die without leaving their story, a whole library. Because when you look at it, Deborah, really, our life, that's what it's in, chapters.
Yes.
Different chapters. Yeah, we start from birth. That's a chapter. You can go all through your life, your teen years, young adults, when your marriage life, all of that, they are chapters. So it's true when you leave here without leaving a record of that.
Yes.
Wow.
An entire library.
An entire library burns down.
When I see older people, older than I am, older people, 80s, 90s, I look at them, I say, you are a walking history book. They really are. They have been through so much. They have seen a lot of history. What we call history was their life.
Right.
And so when they, one lady in particular at my church, she's real good about sharing. In fact, she loves it. She loves to share the history of the town that she's from and where she's from and what she's gone through as an African American, the ups and downs she's been through. And that's encouraging. It really is inspirational to hear it. And I said, you are a walking history book,
yes,
lady.
She is.
Yes, she really is. And she's written up a play. And so she is leaving a legacy.
That's wonderful.
I know.
That's wonderful.
I like that.
You know what I was thinking, Deborah, is that when we write our stories, if we include, let's say, what's going on now, the history of what's going on now in this country. One of the prompts that I have noticed that's always used, the question is always asked, where were you when President Kennedy was killed?
Oh.
That's all. And I said, well, why are they asking all that? Or where were you when Martin Luther King? They always ask that because it was a time, that was a period in our life. And if you start thinking about that, that's right. Where was I? I remember that.
Yes. That's a good prompt.
And one day our descendants are going to be asking the question, now, where were you? What was going on during COVID?
Yes. Yes.
We might be in our rocking chairs, rocking, and they say, hey, Grandma, I read about COVID.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
That's right.
And I want to have that information for my descendants. I didn't have it. I don't have it. I do have some information, but just the basic things, no stories. And that's what I want to leave my family. That's where we are.
It's a blessing.
It is. And so today what we have done is we have given you reasons as to why you should write your story. Because I know that a lot of you are wondering, who wants to hear my story? My story doesn't matter. That's always the part. My story don't matter. Nobody wants to read. You would be surprised.
Yes.
You would be surprised. So you want to leave your story. Your story is the greatest legacy that you can leave behind. Okay, and number 2, it's therapeutic. Once you sit there and you start reflecting on your life, you'd be surprised how when you open that door, memories begin to come in like I don't know what.
Yes.
And that's therapeutic.
Yes.
And then I even see where it's healthy. And I can see why, because you know what they say, it's our secrets that makes us sick. Yeah, That's one to ponder on, right? Yeah, it is our secrets that makes us sick.
Wow.
Now, I'm not saying, just tell everything, but you can tell as much as you want. Okay, so we looked at, you want to leave your legacy behind. It's the biggest legacy that you can leave behind. We said that it is therapeutic, and we said that it's even healthy. And the other one was, you're leaving a part of history behind, your family history behind. And all of that is important. Your story is the most important thing about you. Don't leave here without it. Don't leave here without it. So, Miss Deborah, we are going to go ahead and close. Any thoughts before we close?
Just thinking about what you just said was, don't leave here without it. And don't take it with you. Because you've heard people say, I'll take this to my grave. Don't take your story to your grave. Leave your story as much as you are comfortable with. Leave it with your children and your grandchildren. You may think right now they're not interested. And that's what I had said to Kathleen. I said, they're not interested in my story. She said, maybe now, maybe not now, but they will later. They will pick it up and they will want to read it later. And that's exactly what I hear my son saying. Now he's in his 40s and now he's talking about my story. Well, I didn't think he was interested, but now he is 49 years later. So yes, they will be interested. So don't take it with you. Leave it for them. Whenever they're ready, they will pick it up and read it.
Yes, I like that. Don't leave here without it. Don't leave here without leaving their story, because I know you've probably heard that the graveyard is what? The graveyard holds a lot of, it's the richest place, they say, on earth, because that's where everybody take their talents, their dreams, their everything. They die with it on the inside of them. And we don't want to do that. We're here for such a brief time. Life is short. But if we can look at our lives with amazement and awe, and then try to make some sense out of it, and then leave it behind, leave a piece of us behind for generations to come, then we would have made a fantastic contribution. Absolutely. Yes. So we will be back. We will be back with another episode of Outlive Your Life. Today, I wanted to talk about the why. The why. Next time, we're going to talk about the how. We're going to focus on the how to do it. It's been my pleasure talking to you today, Deborah. Thank you so much for sharing this spot with me today.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, and so Outlive Your Life is a part of the possibilities building better networks. So see you next time.